Hey folks, today we're going to try to repair this G1 Dinobot Sludge who's lost his head. He's broken at the base of the skull where it attaches to the hinge that gives him his up and down nodding motion. And this is an experiment for me. I've never tried this before. There are many repairs on the channel that I've done repeatedly and have kind of refined the technique to where I get a consistent and clean result. This is not going to be one of those. There's a whole other category of sort of experimental repairs that I like to engage in using mules from my parts bin. These bots that have been donors for previous projects, they kind of sacrifice so that some other bot can benefit. And these become a good testing ground to try things out. There are a few open questions as to whether this repair can be successful. For one thing, the break is very irregular. It's kind of at a strange angle. Another is that someone has attempted to repair this before, and what they've done is slathered super glue on to the joint, and it clearly failed, right? So gluing alone is not going to be a successful path, but we've also got this solid concrete layer or shell of super glue that I need to get past somehow. The angles are weird in general, coming out of the hinge and into the back part of that skull shell. I'm not sure whether there's enough material to work with there. And if you know me, there's a good chance I'm going to try to pin this. There's a saying that to a hammer, everything looks like a nail, and to me, everything looks like a candidate for a pinning. And we've got them disassembled most of the way here, and we can take a moment just to appreciate what makes these Dinobots look so remarkable. They catch light in a unique way. They're multifaceted with these gold chrome pieces that are under a layer of clear plastic. So there's some diffusion happening. It gives it a lot of depth that I don't think was ever captured in the cartoon when they just colored those parts solid yellow. And here we can see the face or the brain that's hidden underneath that clear shell. It's faceted, it reflects light beautifully. And you've also got this very effective little jaw hinge, as well as some good sharp detail in the teeth. When I turn it upside down, unfortunately, you see the nature of the break. It's really irregular. There's a huge notch that's just bitten out of it. And when I try to put the two pieces back together, they just don't fit. There's way too much glue on that broken hinge piece to fit in there. And even if it did fit, the nature of chrome is such that you're going to see the seam, right? Unless we repainted it and did quite a bit of work, which I'm not going to try to do here. I'm more interested in whether we can create a strong enough joint to survive the repair because clearly that super glue approach did not work previously. That failed. Off screen, I actually tried isopropyl alcohol to try to remove some of the glue, and that failed miserably. It's a good solution when you have a little bit of glue that you need to soften up, and then you can scrape it away or wipe it away. But in this case, it's just such a thick layer of super glue, like somebody really caked it on there. I have resorted to filing it off. So most of it is on the broken hinge piece, but a little bit of it is also on the skull. So I'm just working through this, trying to reshape it and get that piece to fit back together. So the pieces are fitting together a little better now, and the seam is still very visible, but I'm hoping that once we put the clear plastic shell back on there, it's going to obscure the discontinuity a little bit. I do think pinning is going to be a good approach to giving this joint enough strength to become functional again. So we'll go ahead and create our reinforcement pin from a piece of paper clip. And then I'm going to mark the drill sites on both sides of the break using a toothpick dipped in modeling paint. A little bit of bonus paint on the finger there so that later it'll give me a sense of adventure when I throw on a white shirt. And then I'm using the sharp corner of my flathead screwdriver just to score the drill site a little bit to give the drill something to bite into. This is not a perpendicular surface, so it'll keep sliding off if you don't do this. Remember to use your smallest drill bit to start the pilot hole and then move up a size to make sure that the bore hole is going to be a little bit larger diameter than the reinforcement pin that you're putting in. You need a little bit of room, both for fine tuning and adjustments later, but also room for the glue to ride up the shaft. If you don't do that, you'll create a lot of hydraulic pressure resisting the sinking of the pin. And now we'll test fit just to make sure everything's lining up pretty well. I think it's okay. The seam is still visible as expected, but I still have my fingers crossed that the clear shell, once it's on top, is going to soften up those edges. And now we'll transition to gluing. We'll start with a dab of super glue on one end of the pin and sinking it. We don't have to rush, but we do need to work efficiently. We're going to then move on to plastic weld for the mating surface, and that takes a minute to activate. It's kind of like chemically melting the plastic so that when it re-solidifies, it does so in a continuous piece of plastic. So it's not really a glue per se. Once we've done that on both sides, gave that just a second to soften up, Then we're going to put a dab of glue on the other end of the pin and join the pieces together. And there's the moment of truth, no turning back now. And I'm going to take the plastic weld and swipe it a couple more times down in the crevices on the sides of the join. It's got a good thin capillary action, so it'll find its way into the cracks and give it just a little bit more strength. I'm not too worried about sloppiness there because these are totally invisible. But if you're using it on a visible part, you do need to be quite careful because the melting action will change the finish of the plastic. The pieces had time to dry and it looks pretty good. The seam is still there, but it's not terrible. And the hinge is on straight as far as I can tell, although that's going to become a lot more clear once we put it back onto the neck. So let's get this reassembled and see how we did. And we'll check that the jaw still works, and it does. And then we'll attach the head to that upper part of the neck, the golden chrome part with the clear plastic shell. And this is also a good chance to check whether the hinge is working. And hey, look at that. It seems to be working. It's holding. So we'll keep on going. Let's connect the upper part of the neck to the lower part of the neck and that lower part to the torso, and just a couple of screws to get them fully reassembled. And then we can take a look at that neck hinge one last time. And hey, it's pretty smooth. I like it. It's strong. It's well aligned with the rest of the neck. The seam is visible. It's definitely there, but it is softened up a little bit by that clear plastic shell. So, at least for an experiment, I'm pretty happy with how this came out. And that's the repair of G1 Dinobot Sludge. And maybe not the prettiest repair I've ever done, but it was an experiment and it helped me learn something. We found out that there is enough material up in that skull area to do a pin job. In the future, if you have a toy like this that's so irregularly broken, a part swap might be your better bet. But sometimes that's your childhood toy and it's precious to you and you want that toy, even as broken as it is. So, these are the situations where I'd apply this kind of a technique to something that's just so badly damaged. And if you enjoy this sort of thing, I hope you'll check out the rest of the channel. We have lots of repair videos. We also cover engineering quirks and history. Say hi in the comments. Let me know if this is how you might have approached this kind of a repair. And as always, I hope you found this information useful, and we'll see you next time.